Namaste and welcome to Bhoom of Bharat with Rama Kumar, founder CEO SRK Game Changers, where we bring you new update each week on GCC. SRK Game Changers is a GCC consulting service organization providing advisory, governance, and setup services across talent, business operations, and workplace solutions. We deliver customized, high performing global capability centers that encourage AI and digital innovation. We leverage the expansive skill talent pool, groom the next generation leaders of tomorrow. Our tailored workplace solutions build technology as core foundation. Example, we help up in setting up innovation lab using AI, ML, and RPA. Thank you so much for your encouraging remarks and the feedback on the uniqueness of our podcast and themes we choose to discuss with our guests. And today, again, we have a very unique guest, a very well known person in the industry. And he's just not been a transformation strategist, he's been a leadership coach. And none of that, we thought we should have a unique theme, which is from factory floors to future hubs, why India is the next frontier for GCC driven innovations. So we have with us Ashutosh Parasnis. So welcome Ashutosh to our podcast.
Hello, good morning and namaste, Rama. And thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah. And just to kind of, talk more about Ashutosh. Ashutosh is the founder of NewBox Consulting. He's a seasoned strategic growth leader and industry 4.0 expert with over more than 4 decades of leadership experience across technology and manufacturing. He's led organizations, such as PTC India, QLogic. So I think I'm going to hand it over to him to kind of introduce more. And he's been also an author, mentor, and a faculty. So thank you once again, Ashutosh, welcome. And for the benefit of our guests, if I may request you to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. So, my name is Ashutosh Parasnis, based out of Pune. And I am coming from a technology background and later on moving into, the strategy and growth spaces of the industry, both in the IT and manufacturing sector. So, which I think was a very, very interesting journey. And when I say was, it's because I now have about more than 45 years of corporate experience behind me. And currently, I'm working as a consultant to many small, medium, and large organizations, both in the manufacturing and IT sector. Uh, well, I started my career as an electronics engineer with Tata Electric R&D in Mumbai, and later on moved to a distributor company of modern technologies called Hindutron Services. Now, that took me to Bangalore because Hindutron Services actually had a joint venture with a US based manufacturing company called Tektronix. So both Tata Electric and Hindutron Tektronix joint venture basically inducted me to a plethora of manufacturing activities: design, supply chain, quality, manufacturing, engineering, etc. And that was a pretty interesting phase before the economic conditions in India changed, and it probably became more viable for companies to import high-end manufactured products than manufacture in India. And this I'm talking was about in the 1990s. So I became a part of Tektronix, and then a new journey started, which was from hardware to embedded systems to enterprise software. So that was another learning curve, and I think that's where my interest in manufacturing, coupled with the GCC alongside for the same company, kindled a lot of interest. Uh, Later on, of course, my career progression brought me to Pune, and in Pune, I was heading the GCC for parametric technologies, now known as PTC, another American-based company which creates enterprise-level software targeted primarily at manufacturing companies. So my connection with the manufacturing industry remained, and the same happened later on with QLogic India, which which was more focused on semiconductor design and networking solutions, once again for manufacturing industry, and where the clients were like all the reputed computer makers, HP, Dell, and so on and so forth. So it's now almost a decade that I decided that I'll probably now like to share my experience, expertise, and learnings with the next generation, because things had been changing. I didn't want to kind of give up, continue to remain very very active with the industry, but in a different role today. And my so I call my company NewBox Consulting, basically focusing on moving from the old box thinking to a new box. That's really the idea. And yeah, I'm focusing on people and business growth, because that's a gap I have seen is most prevalent and needs attention. uh, Typically, business leads leadership growth usually. And it is my intent that the leadership growth is in very much in step with the needs of the business growth, so that we can take advantage of all the opportunities around us. So I think that that's good enough for today.
Yeah, no, no, that's a like when I was talking to you and hearing about what you've done, it is like so much of uniqueness which is there, from the manufacturing being hub to a smart tech powerhouse, that you have you witnessed that India's evolution, and especially like for a mid-sized companies, global firms, I would say, considering a GCC setup. What makes India not just a cost destination but a strategic partners for the innovation and transformation? Any views you would like to share?
Oh, absolutely. I think you probably hit an emotional chord there, because it takes me back way back to the 1980s when I started my career as an electronics engineer. And it was with Tata Electric R&D, and I was in power electronics division. So Tata Electric R&D manufactured systems, and as the name suggests, there was electronics, which is the technology, the ICT as we call it, right? But the hardware part of it. Now, I have seen on the technology side devices like vacuum tubes. I have actually worked with them. With many people over here probably haven't even heard of them, forget seeing and working with them. To now, where that same electronics, we are talking of 5 nanometer and 7 nanometer chipsets. So it has been a huge journey. And same in the context of manufacturing, where much of it was handmade, hand wired. Even the electronics was hand wired, systems were hand wired, and manual testing and stuff like that, to an era where Industry 4.0, which is smart manufacturing, is now taking shape, and not only taking shape, but is actually gathering momentum. So it's been a huge journey, and India has sort of seen it all. India has seen it all, and the hand-wired manual stuff was as good in those days as the Industry 4.0 systems are today. And I think that itself speaks that India's backbone of talent, of people, is so very strong that it is bound to be advantageous for anyone who tries to get things done in India. So, yes, like I said, this evolution of the ICT or digital technology and on the manufacturing technology, though it started separately, I think it is now slowly converging in the form of manufacturing and GCCs to working together to create the newer solutions in a fairly agile manner.
Okay. So do you see that mid-sized companies, you should look at also coming and setting up their GCCs in India?
Yeah, so let me, being from Pune, let me speak a little bit about Pune. I mean, look at both the companies which have come in, and look at both our local companies as well. And when I say companies which have come in, for example, we have companies like Honeywell, we have companies like John Deere, we have companies like Eaton, We have companies like G, all the big names who have come here in Pune, and parallelly, they also have their GCCs set up. And I have worked with some of these companies where the GCCs are trying to create solutions, encouraging their factories to embrace technology. And uh, the same is the case with the domestic companies. Take Mahindra, right? Mahindra is the manufacturer, and they have Tech Mahindra. You have Tata, you have Tata Technologies. So everywhere you see there is this combo which is now working together. Either it is for research, either it is for innovation, or either it is for just making the business grow and take it to that next orbit. So absolutely, and we also have other centers, no doubt about it, like Bangalore and Chennai, who are also doing great. Hyderabad, up north, you have Delhi, Gurugram, Noida. So I think all in all, whether you look at Pune, which is my first love, and whether it is pan India, which is also equally my first love. I think it's just good times, good opportunities. We just have to work towards grabbing them.
I think yeah, no, it's a good point. You're talking about Industry 4.0. So that's a very good point. So, how do you think? Yes, you spoke about automotive, you spoke on manufacturing, but how do you do even pharma or industrial products? They could leverage GCC in India to accelerate the Industry 4.0 adoption and drive global competitiveness.
So, you know what? I think Industry 4.0, I think it's probably a pretty overwhelming term for many. Okay. That is one. And at times it is also confusing because the moment you talk about versions like 4.0, there is a tendency to talk about 5.0, and then there is a tendency to talk about 6.0, and I think everything breaks loose. Hell breaks loose. And, the smaller companies especially then start wondering, is it really for us? I think we need to simply understand that we are moving from manufacturing to smart manufacturing. And what does smart manufacturing mean? I think the first step has already been taken, which is automation. You know, when computer aided design came in, right? When computer aided manufacturing came in, when computer aided engineering came in, it was all about automating work which was happening on the shop floor, right? And with those practices came the machines, came the systems, like you have, for example, PLCs, correct? So when these kind of systems came together, the manufacturing floor got fairly automated, and you have all kinds of machines today for automatic welding and automatic milling and drilling and so on and so forth. But where Industry 4.0 makes a difference is taking that whole efficiency to next level. And there are examples. For example, right here in Pune, Bharat Forge has implemented Industry 4.0. Now, what does it do is basically the all these shop floor activities. If you're able to handle it, collect the data in real time, and process it, what typically the IT systems do, which is about data analytics, correct? If you do that, then newer use cases come up to drive better manufacturing efficiencies on the phone, right? You don't waste time, you reduce cost, you basically drive customer satisfaction, and so on and so forth. Now, if you read articles about it, they are pretty exhaustive and they appear complex and pretty overwhelming. But I think there is a way to circumvent that, where even smaller companies, and this is a case with every smaller companies around the world. But if smaller companies understand, and that's what I try to decode for them, that you start small. You may think big, but you can start small. You can improve the operations on the floor better through simple use cases speaking their language. It is about improving inventory management. Speaking their language, it is about condition monitoring. Speaking their language, it is about energy monitoring. So those are the kind of things. Just imagine if they improve it by a significant percentage, their operations are going to be more profitable, more predictable, and better planned. So we just need to think that we are moving from automated shop floor, which is individual machines, to, to a smarter shop floor. And I think if we kind of understand that journey, uh, I think that that's how the big guys have actually done it. It's not that they jumped in full on into the big thing, but they have gone step by step.
Yeah, no, that's a good point you brought about, and definitely Industry 4.0. Yes, it's a term to kind of donate where we are, but yes, more focus has to be in automation and the transformation. And I think a very good point where you brought in start small and then you could scale up. Some of the other things what we say and talk to manufacturing companies are that look at your supply chain optimization. Those automation stuff could be predictive modeling can be a good thing to bring up, and we do have a lot of examples in Pune when they're talking about. So thank you for bringing that point. I think a very interesting point.
One more
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
if I may.
yeah.
For example, you mentioned about pharma.
Hmm.
Now, see, every sector has its own priorities, and in pharma, the track and trace, the genealogy of their products is so very important, right from raw material to the end product which goes into the market. Now, right now, if it is done manually with all the manual records and documents, just imagine if we have the strength, if we have the capabilities and expertise to manage all that in a data warehouse and through data analytics, it gives them a great advantage of not only just tracking but even preventing should there be any issues right on time before any unwanted reactions happen out there in the field. So there are different use cases for different industries which can be enabled very significantly by technology.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for bringing again those examples of pharma. I think I should also kind of understand more from you because if you develop frameworks like U2U and STEP to build future ready leaders, you want to throw some highlight on this.
Yeah, so keep the semantic aside. We all love to create, some names for the kind of work we do. But I think between you to you and STEP, I think STEP is kind of closer to my heart because it is grounded in reality. Okay, now the STEP is an acronym because if we want to bring in a change, now let's accept the fact, and it is well known that there is a big change going on out there in the industry, whether it is supply chain disruption, geopolitics, technology, whatever it is. I think every sector is being touched in different manner. When you want to navigate such changes, and they are becoming more and more frequent, they are becoming higher and higher in intensity, right? The key which I have learned from the big companies, and they are better prepared to navigate themselves into the future, right? Whereas the smaller companies basically are not completely aware of these things, and even if they're aware, it's probably in the minds of the founder, the owner, but not really within the organization, and they are not really ready. How do you navigate? What the big companies have done is well ahead of time, they work on four things. One is they give enough time to work on the future strategies, not just the current one. Which current one is probably extremely important. You need to spend 80% of the time, but you need to give 20% for the future as our scenario changes, the environment changes. The second is when the strategies change, you are not going to go from here to there with what you're doing, right? Newer problems need newer solutions, newer capabilities, and hence being ready with that new talent is important. Now, every time it's not about going out and hunt for talent. That doesn't. It's not very easy. But the thought was, what about if you trained your existing talent and made them ready for the future ahead of time? Because they know your products, they know your culture. So rather than looking for somebody else, unless it is mandatory, it is most beneficial that you actually uh, build or upskill your talent, not just transactionally, but strategically. The third thing then comes is then you also might need to change your work environment. Some of it is forced, like work from home is like forced in certain sectors. But for example, if now everyone is talking that we need to do something different, we need to do some value add because everyone is so much more knowledgeable than they were years ago or decades ago. Uh, so innovation is the name of the game. But then is our talent, which was more condition for classic deliveries, good deliveries, are they ready for innovative thinking? So I think they need their mindset needs to change, and the work environment needs to support that. So a bit of cultural change is required, and hence your processes. P stands for processes. So strategy, talent, environment, and process. That is really the step framework. Unless all the four of them come together, you don't see change happening. It is fragmented, it is siloed, it is chaotic, you know. So the winners, as I call them, actually they actually address the step formula, right? I mean, it may be my name, but they also do it maybe on their own because they understand that these are the four things which need to come together for moving from level 1 to level 2, from one orbit to another orbit, to navigate this kind of change. So that is the framework. And what my after this what the focus I have brought in, I mean, I was trying different things, but this was a big learning for me, is that unless so business is being forced to grow with some external factors, right? They change, or they want to change rapidly. Their focus changes very quickly, but there is always that lag with the people, because people are not in step with these changes. So this step master program which I have, which I'm actually working with a few companies even right now as we speak, is to bring this leadership in step with the changes. So these people not only understand what is happening, I think most of them understand what is happening, but they are ready to get out of their comfort zone. Everyone is aligned, and it is not for one or two people, it is for the team of leaders in the organization, right? So I think the diffusion of this process is also equally important within the organization, not necessarily remaining with the top leadership. It has to go to the middle tier and probably slightly lower as well, because that is when the organization can reorient itself very very quickly, and results are, I would say, almost certain. So that is what this framework is. And I think if I have to speak for myself, and if people speak for themselves as well, I think this approach is, to me, the only way to kind of make this shift in an agile and almost assured fashion.
No, that's a good point you brought about on step in terms of also saying that yes, we see that AI, we are seeing digital infrastructure, and then business leaders playing this role in setting up global centers of excellence is really a wonderful stuff. So thank you so much for bringing that point. I would also like to understand few things from as GCCs are maturing, there is responsibilities have increased. We're talking about product, we're talking about IP, we're talking about security. So, what risk or resilience framework should new GCCs India adopt to ensure global headquarters are their trust and stability?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I think with opportunities always come the risks, right? See, one thing I think from a, let's say, a CEO or a CXO perspective, we need to understand that in this kind of a dynamic and a multifaceted business scenario, one person cannot handle everything, correct? And that is why, I always say that the earlier era was leadership of all. One or few people led the organization. Today we are in an era where we want to leadership by all. So I think in every role people have to demonstrate leadership. Correct. Now, what does that entail? That means everyone clearly understand what changes have taken place, not only the opportunities, but there is a single unified opinion, a voice, a communication about the risk factors also, right? Now, if you really look at it, I mean, if I now again recall some of the things which I worked with when I was at, let's say, PTC and QLogic. Risks were managed not just because of the external factors, because many times we kind of try and see that external ecosystem, is it safe or not. But I think it is equally important that our internal controls and processes are very, very strong. And once again, in the context of STEP or STEP, these processes also need to sort of change, right? So, in my mind, a bad system makes even good people fail, correct? But then it is the good people, the empowered people, the upskilled people who will recalibrate those systems. So it's a loop. So I think once again it falls back on the leadership to ensure that we continuously look at our systems, and depending on how the business is shifting, are our old systems in step? Have we recalibrated it? Many times we forget to look at these old systems, and that's where I said earlier, we try to solve new problems with old thinking, with old methods. No, I think we also need new method, and that's where we really talk about process re-engineering, or system rethinking, and all those jargons. But the point is, I think it's again the people who have to look at this and ensure that more and more robust systems are in place to manage those risks. Look at the external ecosystem in line with what has changed. We today have, for example, government has introduced the DPDP Act, right? Uh, Now that, while it may not address the IP thing, now talking of IP, I don't think IP is anymore really a big issue. Okay, I think I mean, look at in the last 1 month, probably OpenAI and Google have been talking of increasing their footprint in India, right? And it simply wouldn't have happened if they had any issues or concerns of IP. It was earlier because, decades ago, we were outsourcing to third parties. Now these companies are insourcing innovation from Indian GCCs, right? So because it is a GCC, things are more in control. I think they have seen how things work over the past few many years. So I don't think IP is anymore a concern. Probably more concern is frauds, cybersecurity, those kind of things. And that is what I think the internal control mechanisms, the internal control designs and audits need to sort of recalibrate themselves, and that can be taken care of. Though it's a worldwide issue, I think cyber threat is still a huge problem. But yeah, I think together it needs to be solved, whether it is through external policy matters or internal controls, newer technologies, which can build. Uh, I mean, look at, say, for example, banks, correct? I mean, we had that concern when transacting online with banks a few years ago. Now it has become safe, and that's why where we have trust, right? So systems will build reliability, leaders will build confidence and trust, and together, I think everyone will be pretty comfortable. So I don't see those things as an issue. Challenges, if you're alert and active about it, I think they can be managed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ashutosh. I think the discussion is going very interesting, and in the interest of time, we'll have to kind of see wind it up. But I'm finding it was so interesting, so kind of carry on. But then we do have to kind of
Understand?
wind up. Yeah. So very good. I would just last question, which is going to be more on a rapid fire, that if GCC were a machine, what would it be? A precision engine or a bearing robot?
I would certainly go for a precision engine. Yeah, because I think we have demonstrated that capability and we continue to improve upon it day after day. I think the key thing probably I would add is we are a precision engine. A GCC is a precision engine as long as it keeps on learning, right? It keeps on recalibrating itself. And that is where GCCs have proven, many GCCs, if not all, to give that cutting edge to the businesses of their own companies. And yeah, that's my choice.
So thank you so much, Ashutosh. This your insights around bridging technology, leadership, and transformation beautifully. And thanks for bringing that up to our guest. And thanks for also helping our listeners see how India's GCC's ecosystem isn't just growing; it's redefining global innovation. So once again, thank you so much, Ashutosh. And for the viewers, thanks for tuning into this special episode of Boom of Bharat. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on the ideas and innovation shaping our world. If you have any thoughts or stories to share on this topic, we would love to hear from you. You could connect with me on LinkedIn, SRK Game Changers, or drop your questions on our website, srkgamechangers.com. Until next time, namaste from Boom of Bharat.